Hey guys, Comic Boom here to talk about the New York Comicon 2019. I had a fantastic time, November 3rd through 6th. I flew to New York City. It was my first time in New York City. I went there. I met DarkknightNation there. And we had a fantastic time. Met another guy there. It was DarkknightNation's name is Trevor. I met another guy, Edwin and Tyson. The four of us, we had a great time. And the haul that I got there, I just want to give a quick video of the haul that I picked up at New York Comic Con. There's so much to get, so many exclusive comic book variants. They were everywhere. So many writers in Artist Alley. It was just celebrities, just video games, shirts, paraphernalia, just unbelievable. It really is the pop culture mecca of the world. It's insane. And the crowds can get insane too, no question. I felt that Sunday was probably the busiest, but the great thing about it is to be able to cross off the New York Comic Con off my bucket list is that it was just a pleasure to go to and to go to all the panels. We hit the DC Nation panel, which is what I really wanted to hit. We hit the Marvel panel, the X-Men panel. We even went to a Boom Studios panel with the Power Rangers. And we even stayed at a couple panels we would not normally stay at just so we could... just because we could avoid the lineups for the next panel that was in the same room, but we could avoid the lineups because it's possible that in a lot of these lineups, if you didn't get the lineup into the lineup early enough, you wouldn't even get into the panels. And the great thing about the panels is that you could get comic books, exclusive comic book variants for free that were only available to the people that attended the panel. And so it was worth going. In particular, there was the Powers of X #5 variant that we picked up when we were at the Marvel panel. And well, some other things. Well, first, I guess, why don't I start with that? We got the Powers of X variant, the black and white variant. And I should say here that the New York Comicons, the New York Comicon itself, the New York Comicon itself, their magazine had the Arthur Adams cover for their program magazine, and the black and white, that's the same. The black and white version of the New York Comic Con cover was what they were giving out at the Marvel panel dealing with the Dawn of X. So that's quite nice. And yeah, I don't know what it's worth, but it's nice when you get these things for free because it's ridiculous when you walk down to Artist Alley, some of the things that they were selling these things for like $30 or $40. That's just insane when you can get them for free. The DC Nation panel, when we were walking out, there was we saw these things on a table, and they weren't handing them out, but I picked up 3 of them, and it ends up being some sort of promotional gimmick for You're the Villain. And this thing's really cool because it's got a plastic cover. So it's got a You're the Villain cover like this, and then when you close it, you can see which villains are the infected. And you could see there, because the plastic... It shows Commissioner Gordon, Supergirl, and Shazam are the infected because they look normal in there. Then when you put the plastic cover over, you see the ones that are infected. And even on the back, you can see that even on the back of the cover, it's all plastic, normal cover. And then when you put the plastic over, you see the ones that are infected. And the ones infected on the back are Donner Troy, Blue Beetle, and Hawkman. But anyways, a really gorgeous cover. I don't know why they covered it with white paper. On both sides, but probably to protect the nice plastic. But anyways, they were free and they're on a table, so I grabbed 3 of them. But anyways, nobody stopped us, so we did it, right? But those things at the DC Nation panel, Marvel panel, they were pretty good. I'll show. So there's a couple of other things here. There was at the Graffiti Design, they were selling DC paraphernalia, DC shirts, and I'll show some pictures of this stuff as I'm talking about them. The DC booth, they were selling foil variants of comic books. This was Millennium #2. I got it because, well, I'm certainly not a fan of Millennium #2, and I'm not a fan of what's going to be happening at the Legion by the sounds of things. But it's a nice cover, so I got it. And this was the cover for Harley Quinn #66. I bought this because Margot Robbie was there, and we saw Margot Robbie briefly. She was there along with the cast of Birds of Prey. They had all the the fashion and all the wardrobe worn by the various birds of prey in the movie were on display at the DC booth. I got a lot of pins, which I'll show you from the Harley Quinn cartoon. So it's very much a birds of prey theme, I think, in the DC area, and even on the massive DC displays and the decor of the main entrance into the Javits Center where it was held. It was quite nice. It was beautifully done. These were $15 American each. I thought that was quite pricey. And just as a quick aside, there was a lot more, and there were a lot more DC variants, and I'll show them up. There were DC variants on all the latest DC comics, but for the most part, the DC display was. I was a little bit underwhelmed by what DC had this year. The DC Nation panel was very disappointing. Just the revelation of a DC timeline. Nothing new was revealed. Very boring talk by Dan Didio. Very, the same old stuff from Jim Lee. He's a one-hit wonder, going back to the X-Men as far as I'm concerned. And then you got Tom King babbling and swearing on stage inappropriately. I just thought it was... I thought it lacked a significant amount of class that the guys should know better, quite frankly. I was really disappointed. It was something that was substantially better in the Marvel panel. There seemed to be more excitement in the Marvel panel, more fun, and it was just better done. It was well done. It's you really you got a sense this year that Marvel just is on a high. They're flying on a high with their X-Men, and it was the Marvel Dawn of X panel was fantastic. You don't really get a sense of that with DC. DC really, you could just tell that they just didn't know what they were doing. And with the DC timeline, it's quite obvious they don't know what they were doing with the 5-generation timeline. I think a timeline's a great idea, but let's face it, a good idea is meaningless if you don't have the people who are talented enough to make it work. And the current editorial teams all across DC right now, these are not the people that I would want organizing and structuring any timeline dealing with DC. For the simple reason that you cannot solve a problem with the very same people that created the problem in the first place, and that's the problem. But my fingers are crossed. But in any event, it was it was great to be there. It was great to initially walking into the DC Nation panel, I can cross it off my bucket list. It was fun because I was there with Dark Knight and Edwin and what have you. It was a good time. It was a good time because of the company that I was with. But as I'm reflecting back on the actual content of the DC Nation panel, it was an embarrassing joke. It was a joke, it really was. And DC could have done what a disappointing in terms of when you're comparing them. I would rank them probably 5th behind the Marvel panel, the Boom Studios panel, the IDW panel. I mean, there was just panel after panel that just put DC to shame. But in any event, thanks to Dark Knight, I got a discount on a pair of Batman 80th anniversary shoes. Fantastic. Got a heck of a deal. Thank you, Dark Knight. Some Converse All-Stars Batman. It's fantastic shoes. I mean, look at that. Gorgeous. So I'll be wearing these later today. It's Thanksgiving here in Canada at the time that I'm doing this. A couple of other things that I'm going to show. And this is in no particular order. Okay, this was the exclusive given for Power Rangers. Went to the Power Rangers panel, and this thing is apparently it's an exclusive. Not even into Power Rangers, so I'm not sure what I'll do with this, but it's nice to have. It was given to everyone that went to the panel, and they talked about upcoming major events in the events of Power Rangers, and it was good to listen to. I might even start collecting Power Rangers now. I know that Joe's Geek Show there, I know he's into this, so we'll see. Maybe he'll get this in the mail, who knows. But a couple of other things here. Captain Marvel, the Marvel Action Series here. I met the Boo. What's her full name? She's a very nice young Sweeney Boo. I met the artist Sweeney Boo. She's adorable. She was a lot of fun to talk to. She's very kind. And anyways, I got these signed by her, and she's quite the kind person. And I told her that to me, these Marvel Action comic books, Marvel Action Spider-Man, Marvel Action Captain Marvel, Marvel Action Avengers, I think these are, as a comic collector, I love them. The stories are easier to read. They're not overly they're just as sophisticated as some of the other stories in the mainstream Marvel universe. And in my view, and the print run is lower, so I think they're actually more valuable in the long run. So check them out. This is the limited edition Spider Woman. Now they're actually numbered on the bottom. It's not too often. In fact, this is the first time I've ever seen a comic book actually have the number on it. It says 83 of 2000. Only 2000 of these were made, actually numbered, which is actually nice because I don't know about you guys, but I've always doubted at times whether or not these things actually are limited. But these are actually limited. And yeah, so this was $25 American, very pricey. I believe this sold out. The Ghost Rider variant sold out as well. There was 1,500 of that. I'm not a fan of Ghost Rider, so I never picked up the Ghost Rider one. Even though I could have, I didn't. The Ghost Rider one, I think, is now worth like $50, but it is what it is. But I'm glad I picked up that. That just looks gorgeous. Gotta love me some Spider-Woman there. I met Peter Tomasi, and I picked up his hardcover of Detective, and just to have him sign it. It says, "To Rocky, stay out of Gotham." Got it signed by him. It's great. I love Peter Tomasi. I love his, I just love him as a creator. Doug Mankey was there as well. Dark Knight did an interview with Doug Mankey, which he'll be showing on his channel, which I would encourage people to go see. I don't think he's posted it yet, but when he does, check it out. Doug Mankey, Peter Tomasi, great guys. I also, with Peter Tomasi, I also bought his book, The Bridge, his graphic novel, The Bridge, about the making of the Brooklyn Bridge and how the Roebling family was instrumental in the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge. Fantastic. I got that signed by Peter Tomasi as well. So I was quite happy with that. I also got this signed by Matt Hawkins. Met Matt Hawkins. He, of course, runs Top Cow. And I haven't read this yet. It's kind of a provocative series about swingers, I think. So it's a little bit provocative. It's definitely adult content. Matt Hawkins, apparently, he told me he was mugged on his first day at the con. He was mugged because, and the guy that stole his wallet was apparently run down. Another New Yorker got his wallet back for him and then kind of scolded him for looking up at the buildings and not paying attention to the wallet in his back pocket. So, interesting story there. And I have to say to you that, yeah. I was always aware of where my wallet was in New York because I was paranoid. I never got mugged, but I was always a little bit paranoid about what would happen if I didn't pay attention to where it was. But frankly, I had a great time. The people were fantastic. I love New Yorkers. I mean, I didn't have a negative experience, man. I was treated like gold by Dark Knight. And Edwin and Tyson and great group of guys. We stayed in the heart. We stayed at a nice little B&B in Harlem, and it was a really great time. And the people of New York are fantastic. I got nothing to complain about. And we did end up going to Midtown Comics at one point. Checked out Midtown Comics, a great comic shop. I've always heard so much about Midtown Comics. And it was really great to be there and to check out all their statues and all their shirts and all their comic books and their back issues. Really great stuff. I also I met Emanuela Lapacino, who is one of my favorite artists, and she's particularly with her work on Wonder Woman. And I got her to sign some Wonder Woman issues. I actually bought these there, and it just so happens I bought the ones that I was unable to get at my comic shop. I love her as an artist, and I think she's going to keep getting better and better. And she talked to me a little bit about her work with Brian Azzarello in the future Birds of Prey. So I'm really looking forward to that, particularly her art, and that's going to be a Black Label series. So it was great to talk with her. There was a couple other. I did meet Mitch Gerards. Now, Mitch Gerards, I bought the hardcover of Mr. Miracle when I was there, and Mitch Gerards was nice enough to draw me a sketch of Mr. Miracle. And I'm gonna have a little fun with this here. This little mark here, this beautiful sketch, this little scribble here is Tom King's signature. That's Tom King. Now, why is that just a little scribble here? I'll tell you why. It's because as Mitch Gerard is drawing this beautiful thing. Now, we all know that Tom King also does sketches, and Tom King, of course, his sketches are... we know that his Tom King sketches are not very good, and he jokes about them on Twitter. And he joked about his sketches at the DC Nation panel. Jim Lee and Tom King both did sketches, and the people that asked the best questions got to pick what sketch they wanted, whether by Jim Lee or Tom King. Well, naturally, most people would want a Jim Lee sketch. In any event, I made the comment that if Tom King signs the hardcover, do I get a discount? By the way, it's $90 is what it cost. It's $90 to get a sketch. To buy the hardcover was $40. To have the sketch as well was another $50. So it was a $90 for this American total. That included the Tom King signature as well. So it was pricey, but I thought it was worth it because, you know, I'm not a big fan of Tom King's Batman. And but Tom King I thought he did a really good job in Mr. Miracle, and he's done some really good work on some aspects of Batman. And so I've had fun at Tom King's expense at times, and he's had fun at our expense as readers. So, but they are a great overall. They are a good group of guys, and it was nice meeting them. And I thought Tom King maybe swore a little bit more in the DC Nation panel, but maybe I'm just a prude, right? In any event, it was. I'm glad I picked that up. There was a really ugly cover was given away. This was given away at the Marvel, one of the Marvel panels. It was the issue 2 of Absolute Carnage Miles Morales, number 2. Yeah. Anyways, ended up with 2 of them, exclusive to the New York Comicon apparently, but ugly. I don't really like them. So maybe I'll give one of these away to a random if somebody wants one of these. They're exclusive to New York Comicon. They're probably worth, I don't know, maybe worth $15 now, only because they're exclusive to New York Comicon. So I'll probably end up giving one or even both of them away. I'm not really a fan of Miles Morales. Another creator that I wanted to meet was Colleen Doran. I love Colleen Doran. I've always loved her work, and she signed the Troll Bridge with Neil Gaiman. She sold out. Unfortunately, she sold out before I could get to her booth. She sold out of her recent work with Neil Gaiman. I can't remember the name of it, but it's I'll put it up there if I can find it. But in any event, it was really nice to meet Colleen. Picked up, got a lot of, you know, got a lot of little drawings from her, and it was really nice to actually meet her. And she was talking about some of her recent projects with Neil Gaiman, and it's enjoyable, you know, talking to all these people that you see on Twitter, actually meet them, and you know, it's a real pleasure. Now, there was another guy that I met was Art Baltazar. I finally met Art Baltazar now, and this is funny because Mr. Baltazar is somebody who I've always admired his art, and because he's always drawn, because I've always bought the Tiny Titans and all the children's comic books from DC Comics, and this is his own creator work, Cora de Flora from Bora Bora, and his Power Action book. He's got his own comics. He's a great guy. Spoke with him for about 10 minutes. Just a super great guy. Got them all signed. I absolutely love this, and I got so much of Art Baltazar's work that it was so nice to actually meet the guy, and I just like ran into him. Suddenly he was there, and I gotta go talk to him. So it was a pleasure to meet with him, and he's one of my highlights of the con was talking to him, as a matter of fact, in hindsight, because he was just a bundle of energy, and he was so kind, and got a great picture with him and his work. Good stuff. Now, there's a couple of other things that I did pick up as well. I did pick up Dark Knight, actually long ago got me the cover of Detective Comics 1000. Thank you, Dark Knight. And I picked up that. I won an auction in the US a while ago, and I couldn't pick up the comics, so I haven't delivered a Dark Knight, and so I ended up picking up got the Red Guardian, Avengers Red Guardian, issue 43, and issue 48 being the Black Knight. First appearance, or I think, maybe not the first appearance, but first modern day appearance of Black Knight or something. Anyways, got him for a good deal, can't complain. And then a slew of miscellaneous Avengers. So that worked out pretty good. And yeah, I picked up a provocative series, random series, one called Off Girl. This one's a little bit provocative, say the least. And Black Eyed Kids by a Joe Pruitt and Simon Kradransky. I was going to check this out. I also picked up a random series called Silver by Stefan Frank, volumes 1 and 2. I haven't read that yet, but I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, at the Midtown, I finally got it. I needed a smaller Darkseid, because way up there, I have a huge Darkseid figure. Huge Darkseid figure that I put on display at some of my reviews. When I was reviewing Wonder Woman for that period of time there, or issues of Justice League, I used my huge Darkseid figure. This is a nice, smaller little Darkseid figure, a Vinnie mate. So this is easier sometimes when I have a little fun when I do reviews. I'll be putting this up, and I always take them out of the box. In fact, well, why don't I do that right now? I don't believe in leaving these things in their box like I'm gonna sell them one day. Are you kidding? I'm gonna give them away one day. These are toys. There we go. How's that, huh? Look at that. Angry and upset. That's Darkseid. Oh, I see he's holding. I wonder if he's got something he can hold on. Does he hold? Oh, no, that's just where his hand goes. But too bad I could set him right there. Anyways, so there's that. Now, a couple of other things here. I had to buy my, well, actually I got the shirt. I got numerous shirts. I got a bunch of shirts. And I bought my wife a bunch of shirts. I bought myself a bunch of New York Comic Con shirts. Got the cap, of course. A couple of pins. This is the official New York Comic Con pin. I had to get that. And I got a postal pin because I love Matt Hawkins and Brian Hill's Postal. So I had to get a pin for Postal. This is, I love this pin at the New York Comic Con. It says, "Not Your Mary Sue." I love that because all the controversy about, you know, how we comic book reviewers, we always complain if a character's a Mary Sue character. I think it's so appropriate. Not Your Mary Sue. And of course, this can reference anything you want it to reference depending on your point of view, right? Just a wristband. And of course, a pin that says, "I survived New York Comic Con 2019. I had to get that. And of course, when I drink my Crown and Coke, I now have a New York Comic Con glass to drink it from. And I almost bought a coffee mug for when I'm at work, a New York Comic Con coffee mug. But to be honest, I just plumb forgot. You know, there was some, you know, you can buy little comic pops. There was actually kind of a comic pop sort of a symbol. I think it was some crazy looking bird, I think, symbol for the New York Comic Con, but they sold out. The merchandise at New York Comic Con was, they had a lot of great merchandise, and you know, a lot of it sold out relatively quickly, or it would sell out every month, or sell out every day, and they'd have to resell it. Certain shirts sold out every day. I wanted to get a lanyard that said New York Comic Con that matched the pin, but it sold out early every single day. They would only sell so many each individual day, but they would sell out right away. And part of the problem with the New York Comic Con is one that I don't think they can fix is, for example, I never got to see Scott Snyder because every morning we would have to go early to the Comic Con, get in lineup to get a ticket to even get in the lineup to see Scott Snyder later on the day. Well, we never had time. Or every time we went, it was too late because we had to be in the lineup for other panels, whether it was DC Nation or Marvel or something or whatever it might have been. I mean, I'm getting all my panels mixed up, but in any event, it was difficult to coordinate things. And of course, we all want to be, you know, we all like different things, but we did a very good job of sort of coordinating. Fortunately, Dark Knight and Edwin and Tyson, we have sort of relatively similar likes, so it was easy to sort of coordinate and keep together. But it meant that we didn't always, we never got a ticket for Scott Snyder. I'm not sure if Dark Knight maybe did at the final day. I basically gave up on it after a while. At the end of the day, I just said enough. I'm sure one day Scott Snyder will end up coming to Calgary, and I'll end up seeing him there. I already met Charles Soule, so I didn't need to see Charles Soule there. So a lot of Gail Simone as well. I mean, there was there's so many. I mean, it was just all the big names were there. James Tynion the Fourth. Oh God, Tony Daniel, David Finch, Meredith Finch. All these names that are of creators that I'm familiar with, and it was I said hi to pretty much all the big names, and I've forgotten more than I'm telling you in this video. I didn't take selfies with all of them. I took selfies with a whole slew of them, and I could put up a general. I think I put a collage together of some of the selfies. Margaret Bennett is I really like Margaret Bennett. In fact, Margaret Bennett, I bought from Margaret Bennett. She signed the Bombshell issue, and Margaret Bennett also does mazes. I didn't know that Margaret Bennett also, when she was a kid, she says she always loved drawing mazes, and so she did this beautiful maze of Catwoman. I thought I'd pick up, and she signed it. And I thank Margaret Bennett, because Margaret Bennett, my daughter's first comic book, was actually Bombshells #1, and I told her that, and she even tweeted back to me. And anyways, I thank Margaret Bennett for gifting us with her talents, and I quite like this. And so yeah, so all in all, guys, it was my overall thoughts of the New York Comic Con. I had a really great time. I'm going to do a I'm going to probably end this now, because this is really about my pull list. And I should quickly say that I got a bunch of individual autographs of random artists here, which I won't bore you with, but because that's for my personal use. But it was nice to get some autographs, and my journal of my experience, and had a fantastic time. I want to say thank you to Trevor, who's DarkknightNation, to Edwin and to Tyson. Thank you, guys. You showed me a great time. I got to play beer pong at a pub in downtown New York City, man. Fantastic. I experienced the pizza. Wasn't a huge fan of the pizza, but I love the hot dogs. I love the Italian place, and I certainly love the steak that we had at the Dow, a fantastic fancy restaurant. Great time, man, and so much fun. And wow, and I almost lost my passport. Thank you, Edwin, for reminding me where I put my passport. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to get back to my own country. And yeah, and downtown Times Square, man, what a city. It's the city that never sleeps, as they call it. And I was definitely one of the guys that never slept much. Let's put it that way. When I got back, I slept. I hit the bed, and when I finally got back, because I flew from New York to from New York to Toronto, then Toronto to Calgary, then Calgary, a 3-hour drive back here to where I live here in Medicine Hat. And I tell you what, I was tired when I got back, but man, what a fantastic experience. And yeah, I'm gonna do a separate video on what I think of the DC timeline, and more specifically, this was just talking about my comic book haul in general, and the New York City Comic Con in general. Guys, thanks for watching, and until next time, Comic Boom out.